Sound frequencies can actually influence wealth creation. Okay.
Interesting.
I know it sounds kind of crazy. Our source material for this is this book called Sound Frequencies for Wealth Creation. And it's making some pretty wild claims.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, ancient cultures have believed that sound holds power for a long time, and now modern science is starting to kind of catch up and back them up a little bit.
I've heard a little about that.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about things like Egyptian sound chambers and Pythagoras and this music he created that was supposed to adjust your soul.
Yeah, I remember learning a little bit about that way back when, but
Fascinating.
I never really connected it with like money or wealth creation or anything like that.
Me neither. But that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to explore if and how these sound frequencies could impact your financial life.
Okay.
And we're not just going to talk about the theory. We're going to get into some practical takeaways.
Cool. I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
So to kind of get us started, what's really fascinating to me is that these ancient civilizations weren't just like making random noises or chanting whatever came to mind.
Right.
They were very intentional about using sound for specific purposes.
Totally.
From healing to influencing consciousness.
Yeah, they really believed that it had power.
Yeah, so let's start there. What were some of the key ways that these civilizations used sound? Were they all just like focused on attracting wealth?
Right.
Or were there other applications?
I think wealth was definitely a factor.
Okay.
But it was a lot bigger than that. They were looking at healing, they were looking at spiritual growth, they were looking at all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Take the Egyptians, for example. They built these incredible sound chambers.
Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures of those.
Yeah, and they would chant specific vowel sounds in these chambers, and they believe that doing that actually activated different energy centers in the body.
It's like they were using sound as a tool to manipulate energy.
Yeah.
Almost like an ancient form of sonic technology.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what about other cultures?
Sure.
Were the Indians also big on using sound?
Absolutely. The Indian tradition of mantra recitation is based on this belief that certain sound combinations, especially in Sanskrit, create these energy patterns that can actually influence reality.
Wow.
They believe that sound is a fundamental force that shapes the universe.
So it's not just something that we hear.
Exactly. And a great example of that is the sound Om.
Right.
Which is considered the primordial sound of creation in Hinduism.
Okay, so we're seeing some similar themes here.
Definitely are.
They're using sound with intention.
With purpose.
And there's this really fascinating level of sophistication behind these practices that, we're just kind of starting to rediscover today.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And then you have the Greeks with Pythagoras.
Yeah.
And his whole concept of music is medicine.
Right.
I remember learning about that in school,
That's true.
but never really connected it to wealth creation at all.
Yeah, Pythagoras saw this really deep connection between music and mathematics.
Okay.
And he believed that specific musical intervals could harmonize the body and mind. And he even developed what he called soul-adjusting music.
Wow.
To kind of restore balance and well-being.
So he was really onto something.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And so we have all of these ancient cultures recognizing the power of sound, and now modern science is starting to catch up.
It is.
Tell me a little bit about brainwave entrainment. What is the science behind that?
Okay.
Is it like our brains are being hypnotized by sound?
Well, it's not quite hypnotism,
Yeah.
but it definitely is about influencing our brain activity. Essentially, brainwave entrainment suggests that external rhythms, like rhythms we find in music or specific sound frequencies, can synchronize with our own brainwaves and kind of guide them into a desired state.
Okay, so explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
What are brainwaves?
So brainwaves are basically electrical patterns in your brain. And different frequencies of these brainwaves correspond to different states of consciousness. For example, beta waves are associated with your normal waking state of consciousness, whereas alpha waves are associated with relaxation and creativity.
So if I'm relaxed, does that mean I'm suddenly going to start making better financial decisions? How does feeling good translate into more money?
That's where things get interesting.
Okay.
The theory is that by shifting our brainwaves into states that promote creativity, focus, and a positive mindset, we can potentially make better decisions.
Yeah.
We can spot opportunities and manage our finances more effectively.
So it's not about sound magically attracting money to us.
No.
It's about sound helping us get into a better mental state to make smarter financial choices.
Exactly. It's about harnessing the power of sound to kind of optimize our mental state for financial success.
I'm starting to see the connection.
Yeah.
But let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
You mentioned different types of brainwaves. Can you
Mm-mm.
kind of break those down for me? And which ones are we trying to tap into for financial success?
Sure. So you've got beta, alpha, theta, and delta.
Okay.
And those range from like alert wakefulness to deep sleep.
Okay.
Each one is associated with a different mental state.
Uh-huh.
Beta is your active thinking state.
Okay.
Alpha is that relaxed creative state. Theta is that dreamy state right before you fall asleep.
Right.
And then delta is deep sleep.
Okay, so which ones are we aiming for here?
Ooh,
I'm guessing not delta,
probably not.
because I'd probably just fall asleep listening to these sound frequencies and miss out on all the wealth creation.
Yeah, you'd be well rested, but maybe not wealthy.
Right, exactly.
So delta is more for deep sleep and restoration, not necessarily financial strategizing.
Mm-hmm.
So for wealth creation, the focus is often on alpha and theta states.
Okay.
Alpha is great for relaxation, creativity, and visualization, which can help us kind of unlock new ideas and solutions.
And theta, that sounds like it's getting close to the subconscious mind, right?
Yeah,
It's that we're trying to access here.
Yeah. Theta is associated with deep relaxation and access to the subconscious mind. And remember, our subconscious holds our deepest beliefs about money, about success, about our own worthiness.
Right.
And these beliefs, which are often formed in childhood, can either support or sabotage our financial goals.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we're trying to use these sound frequencies to get into those alpha and theta states so we can reprogram any limiting beliefs we might have about money.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button on your financial mindset.
Okay. I love that so far this all makes sense.
Yeah.
We're using sound to influence our brainwaves, to get into states where we can be more creative, more focused,
Right.
and maybe even reprogram those negative money beliefs that we've been carrying around.
It's a powerful idea.
It is, but how do we actually do that?
Okay.
What kind of sounds are we talking about here?
Well, there are a couple of key players in this world of sound frequencies for brainwave entrainment.
Okay.
One is binaural beats,
Binaural beats.
and the other is isochronic tones.
Okay, break those down for me. What are they and what's the difference?
So let's start with binaural beats.
Okay.
Imagine you're wearing headphones,
Mhm.
and in each ear, you're hearing a slightly different frequency.
Okay.
So let's say your left ear is hearing 100 hertz,
Uh-huh.
and your right ear is hearing 105 hertz.
So it sounds kind of out of sync, like a weird echo.
Not quite an echo,
Okay.
but what happens is your brain perceives a third phantom beat,
Okay.
which is the difference between those two frequencies.
Uh-huh.
So in this case, it would be a 5 hertz beat.
Okay.
And that phantom beat can then guide your brainwaves towards that specific frequency, kind of nudging you towards a desired brainwave state.
So it's kind of like tricking my brain into following a specific rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's using the brain's natural tendency to synchronize with external rhythms to kind of induce these specific brainwave states.
That's pretty wild. Okay, so what about isochronic tones?
Isochronic tones are a bit simpler. They're single tones that pulse on and off at a regular interval.
Uh-huh.
And these pulses are very precise and effective at entraining brainwaves. It's kind of like a rhythmic strobe light for your brain.
Interesting. So we have these two different methods, binaural beats and isochronic tones,
Yes.
both aimed at kind of shifting our brainwaves.
Right.
Now, in our source material, they mentioned this program called Billionaire Brainwave.
Okay.
What's the deal with that?
So Billionaire Brainwave claims to be a more comprehensive approach.
Yep.
They're using a combination of binaural beats, isochronic tones, and other sound technologies to target what they call wealth consciousness.
Okay.
And they say that their program uses specific frequencies that are aligned with the Fibonacci sequence.
Oh, the Fibonacci sequence, that's getting pretty deep.
Yeah.
I'm guessing most people listening haven't brushed up on their math skills lately.
Yeah.
But beyond the fancy math terms,
Yeah.
what are they actually trying to achieve with this program?
Well, they claim to be targeting specific neural pathways in the brain that are associated with things like opportunity recognition,
Okay.
financial risk assessment, decisive action taking.
So they're not just blasting you with random sounds.
Right.
They're trying to be very precise in targeting areas of the brain that are the most relevant to wealth creation.
Exactly.
But is there any evidence this stuff actually works?
Yeah.
I mean, can sound really make you a billionaire?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
So while this whole idea of sound influencing our brainwaves is really fascinating, and there's definitely a growing body of research on brainwave entrainment,
Okay.
I think we need to be cautious about making any grand claims about becoming a billionaire just by listening to some sounds.
Right.
It's important to remember that wealth creation is a very complex process.
Yeah.
It involves a lot of factors.
There's not just one thing.
Right. It includes hard work, smart decisions, and, yes, a bit of luck.
Okay, so I can't imagine just sitting on my couch, listening to these frequencies, and suddenly having millions of dollars appear in my bank account.
Well, probably not.
But even if it's not some magic get-rich-quicks scheme,
Yeah.
it seems like there's some potential here for using sound to improve our mental state.
Absolutely.
And maybe give us an edge in our financial lives.
Yeah, even if we set aside the billionaire part of the equation, this idea of using sound to enhance our focus, our creativity, our decision-making abilities, that's really intriguing. And those are all qualities that can contribute to financial success.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's say someone listening to this is intrigued.
Okay.
How would they go about actually incorporating these wealth frequencies into their lives?
Well, the source material really emphasizes consistency.
Okay.
They recommend daily listening sessions, ideally with high-quality headphones for 15 to 30 minutes each day.
So it's like exercise for your brain.
Exactly.
You wouldn't expect to see huge results from going to the gym just once a month.
Right.
Same goes for these frequencies.
Right, it takes time.
So we're talking about making this a regular habit, like brushing your teeth or taking your vitamins.
Yeah.
When's the best time to tune in to these wealth frequencies? Are there specific times of day that are more effective?
There are a few sweet spots.
Okay.
Early morning before your analytical mind is fully engaged.
Okay.
Can be a great time to slip into those alpha and theta states and kind of plant those seeds of financial abundance.
It's like setting the tone for the day.
Yes.
Programming your mind for success before the chaos begins.
Exactly.
That's good.
Another good time is that dreaded afternoon slump.
Oh, yeah.
We all know it.
We all feel it.
Energy dips, focus wanes, productivity plummets.
Yep.
So instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, consider a quick wealth frequency session.
Okay, so a frequency boost instead of a caffeine jolt.
Yeah.
I like that. And I'm guessing before bed is also a good time.
Yes. Just as you're drifting off to sleep, your mind is naturally transitioning into those alpha and theta states, making it incredibly receptive to suggestions.
So listening daily, ideally at these key times.
Yes.
But can we just passively listen to them? Or are there ways we can make these sessions even more powerful?
You can definitely make them more powerful. Multitasking is probably not the best approach here to really get the benefits you want, to create a space where you can focus and be fully present.
So no, like, answering emails or folding laundry while I'm listening to my wealth frequencies?
Probably not the best idea.
Okay.
The source material recommends combining these listening sessions with visualization.
So we're not just listening to these frequencies, we're actively engaging our imagination to kind of amplify their effects.
Exactly.
So what kind of visualizations are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Am I picturing myself winning the lottery?
Well, it's not about fantasizing about unrealistic scenarios.
Sorry.
It's more about visualizing your financial goals in a way that feels tangible and achievable.
Okay, so maybe instead of visualizing winning the lottery, I'm visualizing myself comfortably paying my bills each month, or making smart investments, or having the freedom to pursue my passions without the financial stress.
Exactly, and engage all of your senses.
Okay.
The more vivid the visualization, the more powerful the impact.
So we're listening to these wealth frequencies. We're visualizing our financial goals.
Yes.
Is there anything else we can do to kind of maximize the benefits of this process?
Yes. The key here is taking inspired action.
What do you mean by that?
So think of these frequencies as a catalyst,
Okay.
a spark that ignites your potential. But it's up to you to take that spark and fan those flames into action.
Okay. So if I'm listening to these frequencies and I suddenly get this great business idea, or I'm finally feeling motivated to create that budget that I've been putting off, I shouldn't ignore those impulses.
Absolutely. Pay attention to any intuitive nudges, creative breakthroughs, or just this newfound motivation that arises during or after your listening sessions.
Okay.
Those are often signs from your subconscious mind, guiding you towards opportunities that align with your financial goals.
This is starting to feel like more than just a financial strategy.
Right.
It's almost like a personal development journey.
Yeah.
Using sound as a tool for self-discovery and growth.
I love that perspective.
It is fascinating.
It's about becoming more attuned to the whispers of your own intuition and having the courage to act on them.
I love that. So we're listening daily, we're visualizing vividly,
Yes.
and we're taking inspired action.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything else, or are we ready to start manifesting millions?
Oh, there's one more crucial point.
Okay.
You got to be patient.
Okay, so no, expecting to wake up a billionaire tomorrow morning.
Probably not.
Got it. But how long are we talking about?
Give it time.
Is there a time frame for seeing results?
I would say commit to at least 60 days of regular practice before you really start to evaluate the results. Think of it as like a long-term investment in your financial well-being. The results may not be immediate, but with consistent effort
and an open mind, the potential rewards could be transformative.
So consistency is key. I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of the potential pitfalls or challenges that people might encounter when they're exploring this approach?
I think one potential pitfall is getting caught up in the hype and expecting miracles.
Right.
Remember, these frequencies are tools, not magic wands. They can help create a supportive environment for change.
Okay.
But they're not a substitute for actually taking responsibility for your financial decisions.
So no matter how many wealth frequencies I'm listening to, I still have to put in the effort.
Right.
And make smart choices and manage my money wisely.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
What else? Another challenge, I think, is finding high-quality programs.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of noise out there. There are a lot of companies making huge claims about their sound frequencies.
Sure.
So it's important to do your research, read reviews,
Okay.
maybe even try a few different programs and see what resonates with you.
It's like anything else, buyer beware.
Yeah.
Don't just jump on the first flashy website you find. Do your homework and find a reputable source. Any other potential downsides?
Another thing to consider is that these frequencies can affect people differently.
Okay.
So what works wonders for one person might not do anything for another.
Right.
It's a bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
You might need to experiment with different frequencies, different programs, different times of day
Okay.
to find what works best for you.
So be patient, be discerning, and be open to experimentation.
Exactly.
Got it. But let's say someone has done their research, they found a reputable program, they're committed to listening consistently.
Okay.
Are there any other factors that could influence their results?
I think one thing that often gets overlooked is the importance of addressing any underlying emotional or psychological blocks
Okay.
that might be sabotaging their financial success.
What do you mean by that? Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say someone has a deep-seated fear of failure that's preventing them from taking risks or pursuing opportunities. No amount of listening to wealth frequencies is going to magically erase that fear.
Right.
They might need to explore other modalities like therapy or coaching to address those deeper issues.
So it's not just about changing our brainwaves.
Right.
It's about addressing the whole person.
Yes.
Our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs. It's a holistic approach.
It is.
Like-
It's about creating a fertile ground for financial abundance to flourish. And that involves addressing any internal obstacles that might be standing in the way.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the practicalities of incorporating these frequencies into our lives.
Yes.
And we've talked about some potential pitfalls to avoid. But I want to circle back to the science for a minute.
Okay.
Earlier, you mentioned there's a growing body of research on brainwave entrainment.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? What are some of the key findings that support the idea that sound can influence our mental state?
So there have been some very promising studies
Okay.
showing that specific sound frequencies can have a real impact on cognitive function, mood, and even physical health.
Okay, give me some specifics. What kind of studies are we talking about? What have they found?
So, for example, there was a study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine.
Okay.
And this study found that listening to binaural beats in the alpha frequency range led to significant reductions in anxiety
Wow.
and improvements in mood in a group of participants.
So it's not just about financial success then.
No.
These frequencies can have a benefit for our overall well-being.
Exactly. And there's also research on using sound frequencies for pain management, improving sleep quality, and even enhancing creativity.
Okay, so it seems like there's legitimate scientific evidence that backs up this idea that sound can influence our brains and bodies.
Yeah, and the research is ongoing. You know, this is still a relatively new field of study.
Yeah.
But there's a growing interest in exploring the therapeutic potential of sound frequencies.
That's fascinating.
It is.
So while we need to be cautious about making those big claims about sound making us billionaires,
Right?
there's definitely some real science behind this idea that sound can have a positive impact on our mental and physical well-being.
Absolutely. It's about harnessing the power of sound
Yeah.
to optimize our mental and physical state,
Mm-hmm.
which can then ripple out into all areas of our life.
Including our finances.
Exactly.
I think that's a great note to end this segment on.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
from ancient wisdom to modern science, practical applications to potential pitfalls.
Uh-huh.
But before we wrap up this deep dive completely,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder. So we've been talking about how sound can potentially rewire our brains for financial success.
Right.
But what if it goes beyond just money? What if this is about tapping into a deeper level of abundance in all areas of our lives?
That's a great point. You know, if we think about those alpha and theta brainwave states, they're not just associated with creativity and focus.
Right.
They're also associated with a sense of peace, connection, and well-being.
So maybe by exploring these sound frequencies,
Right.
we're not just tuning into wealth consciousness,
Yeah.
but also to a broader sense of abundance consciousness.
I think that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. It's about recognizing that abundance is this multifaceted concept that encompasses not just financial wealth, but also our health, our relationships, our creativity, and our overall sense of fulfillment.
Okay, so how do we tie that back to sound frequencies? Are you suggesting that there are specific frequencies for attracting love or improving our health?
Well, while some people believe that specific frequencies correspond to specific outcomes, I think it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about finding the magic frequency for love or the money frequency for wealth. It's more about using sound frequencies as a tool to kind of shift our overall vibration and align ourselves with a frequency of abundance.
I like that it's about creating an internal state that's conducive to attracting what we desire.
Yeah.
Whether it's financial wealth, loving relationships, or just a greater sense of peace and joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we are vibrational beings.
Okay.
And that sound is a really powerful way to influence our vibration.
So if we can raise our vibration to a frequency of abundance, then theoretically we'll start to attract more abundance into our lives in all its forms.
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it?
It is.
And one that invites us to really explore the power of sound with an open mind and a sense of curiosity.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that there's so much we don't know about the universe and our place in it.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, sound holds the key to unlocking a level of potential that we haven't even begun to imagine.
It's exciting to think about.
It is.
And it reminds us that the journey of exploration is just as important as the destination. It's about being open to new possibilities, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our awareness of what's truly possible.
I love that. So if you're intrigued by this idea of using sound frequencies to tap into a deeper level of abundance,
Yeah.
I encourage you to do your own research experiment and see what happens.
Totally.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
You really might. And remember, sound has been used for healing, transformation, and spiritual growth for centuries.
Yes.
Maybe it's time to rediscover this ancient wisdom
Uh-huh.
and explore its potential in our modern lives.
I think that's a great note to end on.
Okay.
We've explored the ancient wisdom, the modern science, the practical applications,
Oh, yeah.
and even the philosophical implications of using sound frequencies to enhance our lives.
Yeah.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And I hope you found it as thought-provoking as we have.
It's been a pleasure diving into this topic with you.
Absolutely.
Who knows, maybe we'll revisit this again in the future and see what new discoveries have emerged.
I hope so.
Until then, keep an open mind and keep exploring.
I love it. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of sound and abundance.
My pleasure.
And remember, the power to create a life filled with abundance might be just a sound frequency away.